Welcome to the study. This is Brofessor Hemlock. Here today, I want to answer a question that I get asked all the time. And this question is, I am having my Touch of the Magi target die prior to Touch of the Magi going off. What am I doing wrong and how can I fix this issue? There are three major causes of this issue, and I want to answer all of those. But first, I want to create a little plug for Theomara here, who has created a great range indicator on your target for Touch of the Magi. So this is a great functionality. If you know how many blasts you can fit into the Touch of the Magi window, you're going to maximize your DPS. So I run two different haste builds here. A low haste build, and I have to be close to my target, but if I want to run a higher haste build, I can then be a little further away, and the range indicator will tell me exactly how far I can be away to maximize my DPS on any given situation. Okay. So jumping into answering this question now, the most common thing I see is target selection. Target selection is going to be a very important part of making that Touch of the Magi do maximum damage. And a lot of these issues spawn from being in a pug group. So if you are in a group of randoms, how do I make this encounter work? How do I let people know how I function and what target I'm going to be using Touch of the Magi on? Well, in some situations, it's very easy. I think of Theater of Pain that me and Theomara were talking about, where in Theater of Pain, the Portal Guardians have an extremely high amount of health compared to the other minions around them, and you do need to burst them down specifically, and the whole group can target them, and you'll still have your Touch of the Magi go off. So that type of situation is just where you need to select the highest health target. But what if it's not as easy as that? Say there is a group with a lot of similarly healthed targets, and there may not be one specific priority target, or even if there is a specific priority target, how do you let your group know what to do? So in this situation, I think one of the most important things you can do prior to starting the key is letting people know that you are going to be marking targets. So I use a little macro now if I'm doing a pug group. This macro is simply a little script that sets whatever target I select to a purple diamond marker. I selected the purple diamond for specifically Arcane because it's a purple diamond. But of course, if you have any other marker you want to select, you can simply change this little script and change what is being marked, whether it's a skull or an X or a purple diamond. But I let my pickup group individuals know I play Arcane, and that I am going to specifically be marking the targets that I am dealing damage to, and if they could avoid single targeting those mobs down, I will be able to do a much greater amount of DPS. So I have this little macro bound to X, so when I am selecting my target, all I do is press X, and then ta-da, the target is marked. If I need to switch my target, I can simply retarget something else. You could still see the marker being placed over that mob. All I have to do is then re-hit my marker, and ta-da, now it is moved over again to the new target. And that is a very simple way to mark targets that you are going to be applying Touch of the Magi to. So I've got this mob targeted, I'm running up, we're going to do a bunch of damage, I apply my marker, boom, spark Touch of the Magi AP, huge damage, right? And this can apply to any covenant. Making this marker is going to be a solid way to let a pickup group know what you're going to be using that DPS rotation on. So that clear communication will dramatically enhance your ability to maximize that DPS rotation through Touch of the Magi. Now, in addition to that, something to also be aware of in your group is selecting a target sometimes that may not be a normal prioritized target. If you're in a group where the mobs are all reasonably the same health, and there's an off mob that has like a lot of mobility, you don't want to target that mob with high mobility. I think of like Mist of Tyrannosaith, where the little butterfly mobs with the packs of defenders and the top tenders, they jump around a lot. You obviously don't want to target those. So that is something to be aware of, to not target a mob that is going to have high mobility, and to typically also not target mobs that are casters. Caster mobs are going to stand and cast if they don't get kicked, or if they're unkickable, guess what? They're going to leave the pack, they're not going to be able to be grouped up, and then you're going to lose out on your Touch of the Magi damage. So being aware of your target's mobility, of your target's casting patterns, and if your target is more of a high health pool or priority target mob is going to help you select that correct target, in addition to this lovely little macro here to mark your DPS target. Okay. On to the most common number issue, number 2 here. So this one is something that I see a little bit less frequently, but it does still occur quite a bit, is you aren't setting up properly. So let's just say this is our pack of mobs right here. This is our next one we're going to. I'm doing all the damage, blah, 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 bam, bam, bam. This group is getting low on HP. Maybe there's 1 or 2 mobs left that are all sub 15%. I am going to then start transitioning onto the next position. Instead of staying 20, 30, 40 yards back from that pack of mobs, or however far I am away, and I'm building up my missiles like I should be doing at the end of every pack, I am doing that while moving and preparing for the next pack. So I am positioning myself correctly to then make sure I have enough time to mark my target, apply Radiant Spark, Touch of the Magi, and go into a burst rotation. Now, of course, this does involve where the tank may be slightly lagging behind you. So if you are going to do this, you got to be aware of your threat. If you are popping major cooldowns, say you're using your on-use trinket and you're using arcane power, pop mirror images before you rush into that pack using Radiant Spark, Touch of the Magi, and your AP go. That way you do ensure that you live long enough for your tank to gain full control of the pack, and you're able to apply all of that DPS necessary to live. And that is a pretty straightforward number 2 one right there. The final thing I see is probably the best thing. You're too high item level. If you are someone that is, 220 plus item level and you're still doing 14s and you're wondering why targets are dying from your Touch of the Magi too soon, guess what? You're too geared. You are outscaled the content a long time ago. And since you outscaled that content, it's now too easy. And because it's too easy, the amount of damage you're going to apply with all that gear is going to make the mobs die prior to that Touch of the Magi going off. Even if you shot call your target prior with the perfect mark, you set up perfectly with your pre-pull, it doesn't matter. That target might still die prior to Touch of the Magi going off. How to fix it? We gotta go big. We gotta go higher. So if you're doing 14s, maybe try doing a 16, then, doing a 17. Push your own key up, or find a group to play with that's going to be able to allow you to push those higher keys. And that will make it so you will be doing more DPS because your targets are going to actually be living through your DPS. That's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time in the study.